Well, hey, my name is Mark. We're so glad that you've joined us. We're honored that you're here. If you're a visitor, we want to say a special welcome to you. We would love to meet you. We have a table in the back with a welcome team who would love to tell you how you can get more connected to Trinity Church if you're wanting to know about that. Right now, as a church, we are studying the book of Mark, which is a gospel, a good news story about the life of Jesus. So we are learning about the life of Jesus from a person and people that knew him, those who were acquainted with his ways and took account of it when he walked on this earth over 2,000 years ago. This morning we begin the end of chapter 3, and then it's going to launch into chapter 4 the next few weeks. And Mark drops this little series, in a sense, in the book of Mark about fear. Fear. He's got 3 stories, 3 miracles that Jesus performs. One where he has miracle and power over the elements, over nature. Then he has power over demons, and then he has power over sickness and death. And each one of the stories is tied together to one another with the people's response. When Jesus works and shows his power and authority over nature, demons, and sickness and death, the people's response is fear of him. So in the story, they're afraid of something on this earth. He works, and then all of a sudden now, they're actually terrified of Jesus. They're afraid of him. And so we're going to look at these stories and learn about what is fear and how to overcome fear in our life. That is unhealthy fear in our life. So if you would, I'm going to read to you Mark chapter 3, verse 31 to 35. And we have here the story, I'm sorry, that's not the right one. Chapter 4, verse 35 to 41. And it's the story of Jesus calming the storm. So I'm going to read it to you, and then we will get into it. On that day, when evening had come, he said to them, "Let us go across to the other side." And leaving the crowd, they took him with them in the boat, just as he was. And other boats were with him. And a great windstorm arose, and the waves were breaking into the boat, so that the boat was already filling. But he was in the stern, asleep on the cushion. And they woke him and said to him, "Teacher, do you not care that we are perishing?" And he awoke and rebuked the wind and said to the sea, "Peace, be still." And the wind ceased, and there was a great calm. And he said to them, "Why are you so afraid? Have you still no faith?" And they were filled with great fear and said to one another, "Who then is this, that even the wind and the sea obey him?" This is the word of the Lord. Guys, the most frequent command in the Bible, the command that shows up more than any other, Old and New Testament, is this: do not be afraid. Fear not. Do not be afraid. If it's the most frequent one, what does that say about us? What we need to hear. God somehow knows we need to hear, do not be afraid, because we must struggle with fear, and we do. Guys, our outline this morning, we're going to look at the story of fear in the Bible here. We're going to define what is fear, and then we're going to talk about overcoming fear. So let me break down first the story for you, this story of fear. What's going on in this story? First off, we see that Jesus invites the disciples to go across the other side of the sea, right? One detail that is in no painting or any children's book that I've ever seen that for some reason they leave out, it's okay, it doesn't destroy the meaning of the story, but it is interesting that people leave it out, is that there's not one boat, there's a few boats, okay? So there's a few boats that go out with Jesus, and he's in one of the boats, obviously. And as they're out there at night on the boat, a great windstorm arises. A huge storm hits them. And we know this is an extremely fierce storm. Context clues, because these guys all grew up being fishermen on boats. They're well acquainted with boats. They're well acquainted with this sea. This is not a new place for them. This is not a new thing for them. This is not Andrew out in, wherever he was in the mountains. These guys knew what they were doing, right? And they're still terrified, which shows us this must have been a terrifying storm. The detail that is almost comical, it is comical, that as they look at themselves and they're saying to themselves, we are going to perish. Water is coming into this boat. We might die here. Jesus is asleep on a cushion. So there, picture it, please do. You've got these guys, they're terrified, and Jesus is over here with his head on a pillow, and he is dead asleep. He is calm. What is sleep? What is rest? It is rest. It is a picture of, I'm not worried. I'm not afraid. When you go to sleep at night, what do? You trust your surroundings. People don't go to sleep if they think there's someone banging on the door or might come in the house. If there's a threat in your home, you don't fall asleep. You fall asleep when you feel what? Safe. Everything's locked up. Everything's good. Jesus is not afraid. He feels safe. He is asleep. I think it's safe to assume that in the story. Then they wake him up and they ask him a question. Do you not care that we are perishing? Now, guys, for me, this story has meant so much to me in hard times in life. I'll be honest with you. I can look to key places in my life when I was deeply struggling with fear or depression or having a very hard time. And this story has meant a lot to me. And one of the things that's meant a lot to me is that God has put this question in the Bible. He has put himself the question in the Bible to himself. Do you care that we are perishing? Have you ever been in a place in life where you have said to God, do you care? That's a vulnerable question to ask. Do you care about my life? I remember when we first planted this church, the first day, the first Sunday we had, it was over 8 years ago. We had a newborn, not even a week-old baby, Haddon, our second boy. We were in the hospital at Dell Children's that night because of a random thing that happened to him on his skin. It ended up being nothing, but in the moment, they're telling us this crazy potential things about a newborn baby. He had to get a spinal tap. He had to do all this crazy stuff. I mean, it was nuts. I remember going into my car because I had to go somewhere where no one would hear me, shutting the door in the parking lot of Dell Children's, hitting the steering wheel so hard I thought I broke the steering wheel or my hand. I was so mad. I was like, and yelling at the Lord, God, do you not care about us? I planted a stinking church, and here we are, the first day, and I'm in the hospital. My kid might, who knows what. I mean, I just remember it was just the honest question of my heart. I'll confess it to you. I was saying to him, do you not care? Guys, that God is putting this in here is an invitation to you. It's an invitation to you to ask that question. He wants you to ask that question if it's in your heart. And there will be a time in your life where it is in your heart. I promise you. He wants you to ask the question because he has an answer. He has an answer for you. He has an answer to the question, God, do you care? I'm not going to tell you the answer yet. We're going to keep going. So he put it there. He looks at them, and when they say to Jesus, do you not care? He speaks to the wind. He speaks to the storm. And he yells. This is a yell. So Jesus, you need to have in your vision of Jesus, whatever your view of Jesus is, sometimes Jesus gets angry. He gets angry at death when Lazarus dies. He gets angry here, and he yells at the storm, be still, be quiet, be at peace. And immediately, the storm stills. Immediately. Now, a detail that I think is important is if you're ever out in water, even a pool or a lake, or you're on a boat, if one part of the lake is moving, like even 100 yards away, 200 yards away, the place where you are is also going to be moving. It's one unit. If you've ever been on a super calm lake, there's not like one part is calm and then the other part is not. If one part is calm, the whole thing is calm. Right? You've been wakeboarding, you've been out there in the lake. Isn't that true? This picture that they are painting here is what happened when Jesus said, be still, be quiet to the sea. The entire thing just went flat. The wind just immediately dispersed and the water just went flat. Still. If you have any kid picture book and you just see that picture of the water just clean, just, like you could just kind of take your finger across it, that's how it felt immediately. Jesus is demonstrating just his total, ultimate power over creation. Guys, when they saw this happen, the word great fear, they were filled. These guys, all of a sudden, they're scared of the storm. They're filled, like they're filled with something. They're filled with great fear of Jesus. Like now, they're terrified of him. Now, it's interesting because in the story, it doesn't explicitly say that they are terrified of the storm. Now, you can assume it, I think, because they're saying, Jesus, we're going to perish. I think we can assume they were scared to some degree. But it does say explicitly what? That they were terrified of Jesus. They were terrified of Jesus. They look at him, and they're thinking to themselves, because these guys knew the Bible, they might have been thinking of Psalm 104, 6, 7. That Jesus is the very person that says, you covered the foundations of the deep as with a garment. The waters stood above the mountains. At your rebuke, they fled. At the sound of your thunder, they took to flight. That this man that's standing next to them, they weren't expecting the Messiah to be the creator of the universe. They weren't expecting the Messiah to be fully God. But they are beginning to learn right now that this Jesus is more than they thought that he was going to be. That he has power over the storm, the literal storm and the figurative storms of their life. So that's the story. Important conclusion that I want you to hear is this story does not end with absence of fear. It's a displacement of fear. The fear just relocates. The fear moves from fearing the world, fearing what could happen to them in the world, to fearing Jesus. And in fearing Jesus, you begin to fear nothing else. When you fear Jesus and you know he is with you and he has all the power of the world and you fear him, then you begin to learn to not fear the things of this world. That's the point of the story. So let's jump into the next point. What is fear? Let's talk specifically big picture about what the Bible says about fear. Fear is a response to perceived danger. A response to perceived danger or a threat that results in either generally anger or withdrawal, fight or flight. You might be a person that when you're afraid, you get angry, you get fighty, right? You fight. Some people, when they experience fear, they flight, they cower, they withdraw, they move away. Most of us do both in some different ways, shapes, and forms. But fear is an emotional response to potential danger that causes us to either get angry and fight back, or for us to withdraw and disperse and to move away and maybe avoid commitments or things that we should be doing. There are external fears, if you will. External fears like they have in this story where they are just afraid of a circumstance in life. There's a storm that's coming and they're afraid of it. People can be afraid of death. We can be afraid of public speaking. We can be afraid of losing a job. We can be afraid of events in this world happening. Sicknesses, diseases. If you have kids, I'm sure you experience fear all the time of things that could happen to them. There are external fears that we just experience in life. There are also internal fears. We see a lot of stories in the Bible which speak to the internal fears of our heart. We can have a fear of man, of losing the approval of man. We can fear people. Fear people's approval. We see this with Saul. Saul was a king, and he was rejected as king, ultimately, 1 Samuel 18, for fearing man. Fearing the people and what they would think of him, he made some disobedient decisions, and God took his throne from him, took his crown from him because of this fear of man. We see in the Bible fear of rejection with Jeremiah and Peter and their stories. They feared rejection. We have fear of failure. Moses expressed fear of failure. Why are you choosing me, God? I don't think I can do this. I don't think I have the ability to go do this. I'm going to fail. I don't want to go. We see fear of exposure. David, when he sinned, he was scared he was going to be found out. So he covered up and he made some horrible decisions out of fear of his sin being exposed. We fear exposure. We also can fear missing out. There's a whole psalm, Psalm 73, where the psalmist expresses this fear of missing out in life, missing out on the wealth and the success of other people that don't seem to be following God, they don't care, and they seem to be having a great time. He expresses this fear in the psalm. A lot of different examples of internal fears that we can struggle with. Another dynamic of fear is that fear oftentimes can be hidden. Fear can be hidden. You can look at a person and you can look at their outside behavior, their outside performance, just the way they look, and you could think to yourself, what a courageous person, what an in-control person, what a beautiful person, and at the same time, they could be driven by fear. On the inside, they might be a super controlling person, a super angry person, right? They might look strong and courageous on the outside, but we can look good on the outside, but we can still be driven by fear. Someone might go to war because they want to avoid the fear of family, right? Someone might get married because they're afraid of being alone, and they might, marry someone they shouldn't marry. There's all kinds of things that people could do that look like the right thing, but they're being compelled by fear. Okay? So that's an invitation to look inside your heart and say, how afraid am I? It's not a matter of if you're afraid. It's how afraid are you, and where is your fear being placed? Because everybody, in a sense, is afraid. It's where you put your fear, either in things or in God. Some fear is healthy. Some fear is healthy, right? There's some fear in life that's good. So like if you have a kid and you're playing at a playground and that kid's about to fall off, a slide and bust their head on something, and there's a shot of fear that goes through your heart that moves you to run across the playground and catch the child and save them. That's good fear. Not all fear is bad. Some fear is good. But some fear is unhealthy. Some fear is bad fear. Some fear is the kind of fear that causes us to hold back. It cripples us. It causes destructive reaction, destructive behaviors. It prevents commitments that we should make. It prevents risk-taking that we should take. Healthy fear is when the object we're looking to protect is a good thing. Unhealthy fear is when the object we're looking to protect is an idol. It's something that we put before God. It's some created thing, some good gift that God has given us that we learn to love too much. And when we love a thing too much, when we love a created thing too much, then that creates an unhealthy fear in our heart. If we love approval too much, we love man's approval too much, it's going to cause fear in our heart. If we love being liked too much, we might fear rejection. If we love this or that, whatever thing too much, it's going to create fear in our hearts that messes us up. For example, here's just one example. Think about marriage. Marriage, what is marriage? In a marriage, when you're in a Christian marriage, one of the popular things people say, pastors will say, that's been said throughout church history, is that marriage is the forsaking of things. You are forsaking and turning away from independence. You are forsaking isolation. You are forsaking the love of other people. You're going to love one person, right? So you're forsaking three things: independence, isolation, and all others, to commit yourself and unify yourself to someone else. So if you love isolation too much, you love independence too much, you love the potential of other lovers too much, that could cause fear in your heart that would prevent you from committing to one person. See how this works? Then someone gets into marriage, and something that could destroy a marriage is if in a person's heart they miss independence, they miss isolation, they miss the potential of others too much, it could cause a fear that could lead to behaviors, that could lead to disloyalty or to forsaking the commitment that they have made. You see how fear, it shapes us in all these different ways. It moves us when we love a good thing too much. One kind of fear in the Bible is actually commanded. There's one fear in the Bible that says, you should have this fear. You should pursue this fear. You should fight to keep this fear. There's only one fear in the Bible that says, do it. You need to fear this thing. You know what it is? The fear of God. The fear of God. Proverbs 1:7 says, the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge, but fools despise discipline and instruction. Fools despise discipline and instruction. But the fear of the Lord is the beginning of knowledge. So the book of Proverbs, this whole book on wisdom, it's saying, it's kind of like the intro verse of the whole book on wisdom, and it's saying the beginning of wisdom is to fear God. So when a person fears God, what do? They see that he is awe-inspiring, he is big, he is powerful. He is, in a sense, scary. Like he has created a world with rules and consequences and things that if you disobey him, if you go against him, if you go the way of the fool, there will be destruction in your life. You fear God, right? The person who fears God does not despise discipline and instruction. They want it. They need it. They say, give me discipline. Discipline me. Instruct me. Show me the way to live, right? That's the fear of God, is the beginning of wisdom. If you don't fear God, you haven't even started in wisdom. You may have knowledge, you may know information, but to walk in wisdom, to be a person who knows what they ought to do and that they do it in the right situations in life, that's a person who's growing in wisdom. They're a wise person, okay? And this begins with a fear of God. You fear him. You see that he is big and awesome and powerful, and that he is the creator of all things. And to go against him and his ways is foolishness. It ends in destruction and despair and loneliness. Your life falls apart. So that is the fear that the Bible invites us into and commands us into. Just a little side note. Whenever people come in contact with the true and living God in the Bible, the response is fear and terror. When they just see angels, when they get a glimpse of the glory of God, people fall on their faces, scared to death. Because he's beyond us. If you don't have an ounce of fear, of the fear of God in your life, that is something to be scared of. Because if you have come in contact with the true and living God, there will be fear. There will be fear. There will be a sense of, he created everything. He knows everything. He knows me completely better than I know myself. He knows everything that I've done. He's the judge of the universe, and he's going to judge all men by what they do at the end of time. If that doesn't cause a little bit of fear and dread in your life, you have not come in contact with the real God of the Bible. There should be fear there. And in this story, the disciples just see him say some words. The wind stops, the water goes calm, and they are terrified. And that is a good thing. That is a good thing. So, overcoming fear. What does this story teach us about overcoming fear? I got 4 things for you. Number 1, learning to relocate your fear. Learning to relocate your fear. I've already mentioned it. But one key to overcoming fear in life is understanding that everyone is afraid. We have sin in our life, and this sin has caused separation between us and God. Before there was sin in the garden, there was no fear. Once sin entered the equation, all of a sudden, they were afraid. They cover themselves up. They're scared, right? God comes speaking, and there's fear in their life. If you are alive, you have sin in your life. If you have sin in your life to some degree, you're going to struggle with fear. So it's learning, what do I do with the fear that I have? And the key is we turn that fear toward the Lord. and see that he's with us. He's on our side. He loves us. He's calling us to come to him and let him help us deal with our fear situation. Notice the key phrase here when he says to them, have you, key word, still no faith? Have you still no faith? What's that about? Haven't you already seen what I've done? Haven't you already seen the things that I have done here? At this point, look at some of the things that he's done. At this point, they've seen him turn water into wine. They've seen him heal a nobleman's son. They've seen him cast out demons with his words. They've seen him heal a paralytic. They've seen him heal Peter's mother-in-law. They've seen him cleanse a leper miraculously. They've seen him heal a man with a withered hand. And he's saying to them, guys, think about what you've already seen. Have you still no faith? See, faith and fear go hand in hand. The relocating of fear has to do with faith. The more faith you have, the less, think of a balance on a scale. The more the faith you have, the less fear you have. The more fear you have, the less faith you have. And so it's taking what you entrust your life to and directing it at God. And one of the things about fear is, one of the definitions of fear is a sense of awe, that I look at God, I'm in awe of him. That who am I going to entrust my life to? I'm going to entrust my life to the God who has all the power of the world, the one that I should fear, right? Here's an illustration. I had a friend in college, his name, it's not an illustration, it's a true story. A friend named Colin, right? Colin was from Duncanville, he played basketball at Duncanville. We were on the same intramural team in college, right? So in college, we played on the same intramural team. The thing about Colin is he was absolutely jacked, just absolutely jacked, could pump out 100 push-ups like it was nothing. If you ever squabbled with him, you learn real quick, there is a strength here that I'm not even going to mess with. Like, we're not going to mess with Colin, okay? He's just a beast of a dude, right? And so we're on the same basketball team. I already kind of feared him, right? And this team that we're playing at SFA, Stephen F. Austin, I'm guarding a guy named Pierre. And Pierre, we go to the same church, but we're a different team. He was 6'7", big guy, okay? 6'7", big guy. I'm guarding him. I'm not that tall, but I, for some reason, was guarding him that day. And for me to hold Pierre, back, for me to hold Pierre down, I had to foul him just like crazy. I was playing dirty. I was pushing. I was fouling. I was hacking. He was getting so mad, right? And so it probably wasn't right. This is not an example story. I'm just telling you a story. Okay, let a guy live, So I'm hacking away. It's just a game. And Pierre at one point turns, and Pierre's a good dude, but I don't blame him for this. He turns. He's so mad. He's losing it, right? Ask my wife. I know how to provoke people. So he's losing it. He turns. He's like, "What's up, Mark?" And he just pushes me back. I'm like, oh no, he's really fired up. He pushes me back. Before I could even think twice, it seemed like instantaneously, my friend Colin, who's on my team, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, is just like, boom, right there in front of me, right in front of Pierre, pushing Pierre, saying, "What's up, Pierre?" And I'm just like, at first I was scared of Pierre. Then I was actually terrified of Colin, okay? Because I could see his like a boulder shoulders, right? These rounded shoulders, just like all the delts in him, just like flaring up. And he's just like, he's furious, right? I don't know. We were good buddies, right? And so we prayed together. So he came over and he's pushing Pierre. In that moment, I was more terrified of Colin than I was of Pierre. But I felt safe. I felt safe. Okay. I felt safe. God is inviting you. Fear him. See who he is. See that he is more powerful than any of the things that you face. Any of the threats, any of the stuff out there in life. He is more powerful. He is more mighty. You should fear him more, but he is on your side. He's with you. He's in the boat, right? He's not scared at all. I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but fear him. Look to him, and your fears of this world, of this life, of the things that can happen will begin to dissipate. They will begin to fall away. So learning to relocate your fear. Secondly, seeing that Jesus is in the present. Jesus is with you in the present. He's with you now. Guys, I think a practice that is so important. There's an old Irish prayer, right? I don't know if it was St. Patrick, but I believe it's Irish. And it was this invitation to, when you start your prayer time, just say this: God is above me. God is below me. God is to my left hand. God is to my right hand. God is in front of me. God is behind me. God is with me. Like, literally do that. Like, in a prayer time, you get alone with the Lord and meditate and think about the fact that the God of the universe, Jesus, he's in the room with you. Especially when you're dealing with fears, when there's these things that you're afraid of, you're anxious about, you're worried about. Just having a moment in the day, an anchor point in the day, where you get alone with God and you say, Jesus, who can calm the storm, he's in the room with me. And he's asleep on the pillow. Like he sees the situation. He sees what I'm going through. He knows it, and he knows the future. And guess what? He's not scared. There's something about in life when you get the presence of a person with you, and they see your situation. Maybe they're in the same situation as you are, and they're not afraid. They're not afraid. And they see it, and they know it. There's power in that. Another story is when I was a senior in college, I got this privilege to go on a mission trip to Mexico. It was in Morelia, Mexico. You can't go there anymore because of the mafia people and stuff. But I got to go there. It's a beautiful place. We were on a mission trip there for like a month. And at the end of the trip, our leader took us on this really cool excursion, horseback riding. Now, this horseback riding situation was nothing like any horseback riding situation at your local camp. Okay, so we go to this like village in Mexico, like on the top of a mountain, no electricity. You show up, all these people roll up with horses, right? And so they roll up with horses. These guys get off their horses. You hand them a $10 bill, and they give you their horse for the day. And so you hop on that horse. So a bunch of us, like 20 people, hop on these horses, and boom, the horses know where to go. We're just galloping, running through these open fields in Mexico. So I don't know how we didn't die, but there we were, flying through, fields in Mexico on these horses. We climb up to the top of this already erupted volcano. We get to climb back down. When we came down from the volcano, all of a sudden, out of nowhere, this crazy storm hit. It just starts thundering. It starts raining. The rain is pouring down. We try to get back on the horses. The horses are spooked. They all take off and head back home. And so we're like 10 miles from this village. We're in the middle of nowhere in Mexico. We're looking at our leader like, are we going to die? What is happening? We get actually separated, and so there's a few of us over here, a few of us over there, because this river forms at the base of this volcano. We had to climb to the top of a hill. I know this is a crazy story, but bear with me. We climbed to the top of this hill, and it's my friend Ryan and I, a couple of girls, high school girls, and we have the girl leader is with us. The high school girls are absolutely hysterical. They are crying. They are screaming. They are losing their minds because we're surrounded by a river on a hill. It's not looking good. My friend and I, Ryan, are just like, this is nuts. We're in a movie. It's kind of cool, Our leader, the girl leader, her instincts kick in. She pulls us aside. She takes me and Ryan by the collars, and she's just like, hey, I need you to pretend like you're not scared right now. And Ryan and I are like, okay. And so we come back over, and we pretend like we're not scared. We're just like, hey, guys, let's pray. Let's hold hands. Let's sing some hymns. So we're praying. We're singing. We're pretending like we're not scared. We're scared on the inside, but we're just giving it off like we're not, right? So we're not scared. All of a sudden, guess what happened? Everybody starts calming down. People start singing songs. People start praying. There's even a little laughter here and there, right? Eventually, people show up in some trucks. We get saved. We find out people die there every year. No big deal. But we made it through. Jesus is not pretending to not be scared. He is with you, and there is power in you learning to gaze at him and see his demeanor. See his demeanor. That he actually is not afraid. That he sees the situation in your life. You may have some crazy diagnosis. He sees it. He's not afraid. You may know you're going to die in a month. He actually sees that and is not afraid because he has power over death. And resurrection power is in you if you are with him and he is with you. He is not afraid of anything. Whatever thing you are facing, he's not scared of it. I know for a lot of us, oftentimes it's the fears we have for other people, like our kids or family members. We're afraid of what might happen with them or whatever. He sees that too, and he is not afraid. Are you inviting Jesus in to your fears? Saying, Jesus, do you care? Do you not care for me? Are you inviting him to come in? Because he has an answer for you. I'm with you. Where is your faith? Do you not still trust me? And here's the last point, guys, that I'll close with. The last and important thing we must deal with our fears is seeing the counterfeit saviors. Seeing the counterfeit saviors. Because in our fears, guys, there's things that we look to, illegitimate saviors, counterfeit saviors that we look to help us when we are afraid. There are things like lust, things like greed, things like materialism, things like busyness, things like alcohol, things like illegitimate fantasies that you might, plunge into your mind. Could be some kind of crazy romance novel that you kind of escape to. Some people look to gambling. What are the things? What are the you know what they are because you love them. You look to them like a savior. What are the things that you look to help you with your fear that is just taking the place of Jesus? It's taking the place of the one who can actually help you. Because, guys, Jesus he is the money that we long for. Jesus is the love that we long for. Jesus is the romance that people long for. Jesus is that golden-haired guy or girl that people dream of. He's the one. Jesus is the power, the security, the approval, the life he is it. He is the Alpha and the Omega, the beginning and the end. And he has come to save you and to help you with your fears. Bring your fears to him. Let him love you. Let him shepherd you. Spend time with him. There's no one better. Guys, I'll close with this illustration. Imagine you are in a band, right? I'm not in a band. I never will be in a band. I am musically handicapped in every possible way. But imagine you're in a band. Let's say you're a drummer in that band. And let's say you get a gig at a spot downtown, right? You get to play at a gig downtown. You're a drummer. You get to play. And a bunch of friends come to watch you play. Now imagine if just randomly, in that moment when you play, Bono is there. Okay, let's say Bono shows up to this performance that you have. And let's say after the concert, you're done, and you're out there mingling it up, and a friend who maybe knows a little bit about music comes up to you and says, good job, but they offer some criticism to you, right? They offer some criticism, you could have done this a little bit better. And then that criticism, you just performed, you just put yourself out there, starts to rattle around in your heart, right? Let's say that thing starts to rattle around in your heart, it's bothering you, it's getting at you, but then Bono walks up to you and is like, man, that was amazing. It was flawless. You're so good. I want you to be in my band. I want you to come play with me. Now, what would that affirmation do to the criticism of your chump friend? You would completely forget about it. You would be like, forget that. Bono wants me to be in his band, right? Guys, you know what the gospel is? The gospel is this. The God of the universe says, come, Be with me. You're on my team. You're in my family. I've adopted you into my family. I love you. I affirm you. You are righteous in my sight. You are forgiven of all of your sin. The fundamental person that you are, I love you, and you're in with me. Guys, take that with you this week so that when the criticisms come, the fears come, the fear of approval, the fear of rejection start haunting you in whatever you're doing this week. Jesus, Almighty God, is with you and loves you and affirms you, and you're in his family. Let that gospel power be in you this week, okay? That's the practicality of this. He's with you in all the details of your life.